Welcome. We're going to continue talking about World War II. This is lesson 4, and we're going to focus on Germany invading the Soviet Union. So up to this point, we have the causes for World War II, which includes aggression from Italy, Japan, and Germany, and the League of Nations resistance to use force until it was too late. We have the invasion of Poland, in which Poland was invaded not only by Germany, but also the Soviet Union, and conquered within 1 month. After the invasion of Poland, you have the invasion of France, which also included an invasion of Belgium. France will surrender and left Britain alone to fight against Germany. Germany attacked Britain using their Luftwaffe, or their air force, but Hitler's decision to abandon the military strategy of attacking manufacturing hubs and military significant places, and instead focusing on civilians, is going to slow down the German attacks, and Hitler will go ahead and abandon, or at least turn his attention to the Soviet Union. So today we're talking about Germany invades the Soviet Union, and start by talking about Operation Barbarossa. We're also going to talk about the Battle of Stalingrad. So after several months of bombing London and other places in Britain, Hitler abandons his attacks on Britain and focuses attention on the Soviet Union. And despite the Nazi-Soviet Pact, which is a non-aggression pact between Germany and the Soviet Union, Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June of 1941, using 3 million soldiers. So once again, the largest invasion in the history of the world. So Hitler estimates that he can get this done before winter. Stalin is surprised, not so much that Hitler betrayed him, but the fact that Hitler would attack him with Britain still as an enemy, and also attack him this late in the summer, because this may allow him to drag this out into the winter. Okay, so on this map here, you can see the attack of Germany and the Soviet Union. So here you have Germany invading. They've already taken over Poland, so they're going to invade the Poland part, the part that Soviet Union controlled in Poland or took over, and they're going to start to push into the main part of Russia. So the Soviet Union is once again unprepared for war, just like they were in World War I. They're not completely industrialized, just like they weren't in World War I, and most of its top officials were killed during the Great Purge because Joseph Stalin was paranoid and scared they might attempt to overthrow him. So instead of fighting a normal war, Soviet Union is going to use scorched earth policy once again, just like they did against Napoleon. And the scorched earth policy is when the Soviet Union burned crops, shelter, and supplies, they retreated further into the Soviet Union and allowed Germany to expand into the Soviet Union and extend their supply lines, and hoping that they would run out of food and shelter as winter comes. Germany, just like Napoleon, is hoping to rely heavily on living off the land, but scorched earth policy will make that near impossible. So during Operation Barbarossa, Germany gained a lot of territory. They captured Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltic before winter. They took over the territory that Soviet Union had conquered in Poland. So they took over a lot of area. So all that colored area on the map is land that the Soviet Union lost, or that Germany conquered during Operation Barbarossa. But Germany was unprepared for winter. Thousands are going to freeze to death, and Germany is going to be forced to retreat. And this is going to lead to a second attack later on from Germany. Meanwhile, the United States is going to join the war shortly after the Soviet Union is invaded. This will happen on December in 1941. So in July of 1941, the United States is going to be kind of cut off oil supplies to Japan, who invaded China. And after the Battle of Britain, the U.S. becomes more involved in World War II and sending supplies to Britain and China, and then they cut off oil supplies to Japan, which makes Japan angry. So Japan, not being able to win a war without oil, decides that they're going to try to knock the United States out of the war before they even enter. So they launch a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, which is a U.S. naval base in Hawaii. Japan fails in this attack because many of the U.S. major ships were out of the dock at the time. The next day, December 8th, the U.S. declares war on Japan, as well as Germany and Italy. But despite the fact they declare war on Japan, most of the early stages of the war are going to focus on Germany, especially after the Battle of Midway against Japan. Okay, back to the Soviet Union and Germany. Germany is going to attack the Soviet Union the next year, and this will result in the Battle of Stalingrad. So they invade the Soviet Union again late in the summer of 1942, and they'd already taken over all this land to the left, and they're going to start attacking into this area, and their goal is to disrupt manufacturing and cut off oil supplies. So just as the United States was trying to cut off oil supplies for Japan, Germany is going to try to cut off oil supplies for the Soviet Union, realizing that the Soviet Union cannot win a war without oil. And they can't win a war without supplies, so they're going to cut off their manufacturing as well. So on July 3rd, 1942, Hitler demanded that Germany take over the city of Stalingrad. Okay, so things seem to be going well for Germany. They seem to be making good progress into these areas of the Caucasus oil fields, and Hitler decides to go on a side journey. And the side journey would be to take over the city of Stalingrad, which was of minor importance in terms of manufacturing. They did have some manufacturing there, but the main reason why Hitler took it over is because the name of the city, Stalingrad, was named after Stalin himself. So on August 23rd, 1942, Germany invades the city of Stalingrad. They began an invasion by using the Luftwaffe, which is their air force, to bomb the city. Figuring they could bomb the city would be destroyed. They could march through victorious. However, as you can see in a picture, that wasn't necessarily successful because the city is in ruins. There's rubble everywhere, and this makes it difficult for weapons, including tanks, and supplies to enter Stalingrad. As Germany enters the city, snipers hid in the rubble or the ruins, inflicting casualties. The most famous of these snipers on the Russian side, or on any side really, was Vasily Zaitsev. He was a Soviet sniper who had 225 confirmed kills at the Battle of Stalingrad alone. Fast ahead here. 3 months into the battle, Germany had captured 90% of Stalingrad. It seems to be going poorly. Soviet Union seems like they should leave Stalingrad and give Germany victory, but Stalin refuses to let them surrender. And on the other side, Hitler refuses to let Germany surrender. So at this point, Germany had pushed the Soviet Union and the Soviet soldiers against the banks of the Volga River. You can see the Volga River in the picture down below. So here you see 90% of the city is controlled by Germany, and here you have the Volga River, which is where the Soviet Union is pushed back to. Germany has their air force and attacking people as they try to cross the Volga River, and it's also frozen and full of ice. So as the Russians try to bring supplies across, they're not going to have a whole lot of success. Germany is not going to have a whole lot of success as their supply lines lengthen, and they're not going to be able to live off the land since much of Stalingrad was destroyed by the early bombings. This leaves both sides without food, shelter, and supplies as winter approaches. And the battle is going to be fought in the streets, in houses, even in sewers. You have fights over tractor factories, someone's house. You have people fighting in the sewers since they'd be protected from snipers and protected from the winter weather. So this really turns into almost a World War I style trench warfare, where people are charging at their enemies and getting taken down by machine guns. But even then, they're going to have trouble having guns and weapons to actually do the fighting, and a lot of this ends up resulting in hand-to-hand combat. Eventually realizing that they can't win the war, and they're running out of food and supplies as winter approaches, as well as shelter, German commander is going to go against Hitler's orders and surrender. After Stalingrad, the Soviets are going to begin to dominate Germany on the Eastern Front. So the Soviets won largely because of the winter and the weather and lack of shelter by the Germans for Stalingrad. But after this, they're going to win outright with better tanks and better weapons as the Soviet Union is finally becomes industrialized. Also, Hitler begins to become more and more involved with the strategy for Germany, which hurts Germany, whereas Stalin, who is paranoid, is going to begin to trust his army leaders more and have success doing so. So the Soviet Union begins to dominate Germany on the Eastern Front. They're going to push Germany all the way back to Berlin, the capital of Germany. And as they are pushing Germany back from the east, you're going to have the United States and Britain pushing them back from Germany back from the west, and also Germany and Italy from the south. So you have a simple history video to watch and answer questions on over the Battle of Stalingrad. And I also have some scenes from Enemy of the Gates, which is a movie about the Battle of Stalingrad focusing on Vasily Zaitsev. When you're done with that, you can write your paragraph describing the Battle of Stalingrad in your handout. Use the terms provided in the handout to help you write that. All right, one last thing before we move ahead. Italy, as we mentioned earlier, is going to continue to struggle in this. We learned about this with the previous unit. But after the invasion of Sicily, Mussolini is overthrown from power in Italy. And this is largely due to the invasion of Sicily. And Italy is going to agree to an armistice where they're going to stop fighting. And Italy attempted to exit the war, but Hitler sends German troops into Italy and fights against the Allies. Mussolini was arrested and removed from power, but Hitler is going to put Mussolini back in power after he rescues him and put him back in charge as a puppet leader. This will eventually fall apart. The war is going to continue to go poorly for Italy, and Mussolini will eventually be executed by his own people after he is captured trying to escape. All right, so our last couple units on World War II, we'll talk about the fall of Germany and later on the fall of Japan. So our next lesson is going to focus on victory in Europe and the Soviet Union attacking Berlin. All right, thanks for listening. If you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.